Just kidding.
Hey everybody, it's John Hope Bryant, Chairman and CEO of Operation Hope, the largest financial inclusion organization, nonprofit in the country, just under $3 billion invested in underserved neighborhoods across this country in the last 25 years, 3 million clients, raising credit scores 120 points in 24 months. We know a little bit about financial literacy. We actually are responsible for financial literacy being the policy of the United States government. Served 3 U.S. presidents. My point is, know a little bit about the topic. Entrepreneur, built something from nothing, run 40 organizations, having nothing to do with entertainment, sports, or anything that's consumer oriented in that way. I'm a real estate guy, I'm a finance guy, I'm a banking guy, I'm a business guy, just straight up hard entrepreneurship. So let me say, I've got no dog in this fight, I've got no bias, I'm not from the entertainment world. I basically like Jay-Z and Beyoncé. I think they're pretty dang on cool. I love Jay-Z's most recent album, I think it's 444, is that right, Jamie?
That's right.
The song 444, which is basically a financial literacy song. Love it. I did a video giving him some props for it. So I don't want anybody thinking I'm hating on Jay-Z and Beyoncé. If I had a problem with them personally or professionally, I tell you, I don't. I'm asking a question. It's a good question. This is a financial literacy moment. Is spending $90 million on a home, which is, by the way, their business, and if the next thing I'm about to say was different, I would not be doing this video. Because they're not the only people buying $90 million homes. So God bless them. Is spending $90 million on a home in the way in which they're structuring it, is that financially literate? Here's the question. Okay, they're worth about $1 billion, both of them together, give or take, somewhere between $800 million and $1.2 billion, depending on who you're talking to. It's a lot of money. I commend them. Fantastic. I think they're really smart business people. They bought a home, fantastic, all good, for $88 million in, I think it's Bel Air. They got a $54 million mortgage from Goldman Sachs. What? What? I had to make sure I was reading that properly. Now, the reports say that it's a $150,000 monthly mortgage payment, which is enough to give anybody a heart attack. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that's a 30-year amortization on the mortgage. So let's just say they're not going to be hot for 30 years. So we got to assume it's a 30-year, it's due in 5 years or due in 10 years or whatever, however it is they structure it. But it's a long-term mortgage like you and I have. Okay, but my back of the envelope calculation is 4% interest, which is still a very good rate, puts that mortgage payment at $250,000 a month. A month. Okay, let's assume that I'm wrong. Let's assume they got a really sweetheart deal and it's $150,000 a month. The property tax bill, by the way, is $1 million a year. Let's go back to the mortgage payment. The mortgage payment, then you layer on top of that landscaping fees and trash pickup fees and housekeeping fees and food, basically maintenance for this monstrosity of an amazing, beautiful property. You're probably talking another $80,000 to $100,000 in running costs for this property. So any way you cut it, it's $250,000 a month. Now, you say, well, come on now, John Bryant, they're worth $1 billion. Fair enough. Also, in the entertainment business, they aren't producing widgets. It's not stock payouts from creating the next IT genius development. It's their net worth is tied in large part to their currency in the entertainment space. There are very few people. Michael Jackson couldn't afford this house. Let me be clear about that. Michael Jackson was worth all that money after he passed, but he was hemorrhaging cash, living above his means when he was here. A lot of people in the entertainment and sports business live super large in comparison to their net worth. It's still a lot of money. But if you're going to put $40 million down on a house, Just go buy a $40 million house and have no payment. Stress-free, because they could still lose this house. Because the real owner of this house at $54 million mortgage is Goldman Sachs. If they stop being hot, God forbid a lawsuit or who in the heck knows, this crazy world we're living in now, who knows what, malfeasance from the business manager, the tax man comes calling, who knows what can happen. I trust and hope nothing bad ever happens to them. But God forbid something happens, they slip on a financial banana, and they also all of a sudden have cash flow problems, or they're not as hot as they used to be. Who knows? Again, the business is, with all due respect, flaky. It's flimsy. You can't count on anything. All of a sudden, that $250,000 mortgage, which is, by my estimation, $3 million a year, which is, a really good income for a really good performer in Hollywood. $3 million a year is nothing to shake a stick at. That's good money. But the mortgage payment alone for this property, not including the property taxes, is $3 million a year. You got to do that. You got to stroke that check every year until this thing's paid off. And if you miss 3 months, Goldman Sachs can take the house back, and your $40 million is gone. And so you say, well, they got equity in the house. Not in a mortgage downturn, not in an economic crisis. If the economy goes kaplooey like it did in 2009 and a decade before that, that $88 million house gets slashed to $60 million or $55 million, which is essentially what they owe in debt on the property. There's a reason why Goldman Sachs made them put 40% down and took only a $54 million mortgage versus taking a $75 million mortgage. They thought the risk level for them was about $54 million. If they had to sell this house in a fire sale, they get about $54 million. And by the way, there are a lot less buyers for a house at that level. It's not like you and me going down and buying a house at the auction. Now, I'm going to put this into context for you. If you're going to buy a house like this, you don't go get a mortgage on it. You pay cash. Why is the biggest reason you pay cash? It's not an income-producing asset. If you're going to spend $100 million on something, buy a business. I don't know, buy 100 McDonald's franchises or 20 Wendy's. I don't know. Go buy a manufacturing business that has a contract to produce for Avon or something for the next 20 years. Buy something with a cash flow. Hello, a business with hard assets and a cash flow attached to it. You know how many rental homes you could have bought for $90 million? You could have bought $90 million worth of rental homes, and the rental homes would have allowed you to reverse back in, pay for this, well, something half this price, and go buy you a house. Look, go buy you a house for $25. You know how much house you get for $25 million? A $25 million house. I'm about to show you, by the way. A $50 million house, and pay cash for it, and nobody can kick you out of it. It's yours. So if everything goes bottoms up in the entertainment business, or you decide you're tired of doing concerts, or you're tired of grinding, you just say to everybody, I'm out, and no one can kick you out of your own house. And by the way, you now have a nest egg, which is worth $30, $40, $50 million, which you can cash out anyway, anytime you like. Now, for those of you who say, I'm just being unreasonable, that Jay-Z's a billionaire, I'm going to give you a little context. Okay, let's start at the top of the mark. Here's my man, well, I don't know him, but I will. Here's the man, Bill Gates. Bill Gates bought a home for $66 million, did some upgrades to it. It's worth $123 million a day. So you say, well, John, that's more than the Jay-Z and Beyoncé house. You're absolutely right. Bill Gates is worth $81 billion. Jay-Z and Beyoncé are worth, again, as I said, around $1 billion in a good market. Let's say they're worth $800 million. It's still a lot of money, okay? God bless him. But this guy's worth $81 billion. If he had Jay-Z and Beyonce's money, he'd kill himself. And his house is worth $123 million, and he bought that after, 30 years of grinding at Microsoft. He finally went and bought his dream home. Now, that's at the top of the mark. Let's go to Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk is worth $20 billion. Now, Elon bought $70 million worth of home, also in around the same area, Bel Air. He bought 5 homes. 5 homes for $70 million. 5 homes, 5 homes, 5 homes, 5 homes for $70 million. Not 1 home, 5 homes, right? I don't know which one he lives in. Maybe he trades them. I don't know. Maybe he has different family members in each one. I don't know. But it's easier to sell, let me get my math here, $12 million home, $15 million home than it is to sell an $80 million home when you are in crisis. Very few people can afford to. The buyer's market for $80 million home is, I don't know, 1% of the buyer's market for a $10 million home. Just giving you some context. But this guy is worth 20 times at least what Beyonce and Jay-Z are worth. Again, no disrespect to Beyonce and Jay-Z, but he also has income producing assets that don't require his personality. Okay. I'm not even getting serious here yet. I'm about to get serious. You know what this home is? It may look like your house. It looks like some houses in the hood I've seen around where I grew up, right around the corner from First AME Church in Los Angeles. By the way, I'm coming to do a Memo event for the new book, the new bestseller, The Memo. Coming to do this book event on December the 19th at USC with Reverend Cecil Chip Murray and Reverend Mark Whitlock, and so you'll get more details about that. But this could be a home right around the corner from First AME Church or USC, and it could be worth, I don't know, about $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 in that neighborhood. Maybe $800,000. That home is Warren Buffett's home today. Warren Buffett is worth 80 to 85, hold on, billion dollars. Billion, 85 billion dollars, right? And his stock, one share of stock is in the thousands if you want to buy one of his stocks. And he still lives in that home. The one with the gate around it that says "Don't come up in my front yard." You throw a rock from the curb and hit. Don't do this. And hit his window. And it's the same home he lived in with his wife and grew up in. Basically, they bought it for I think $36,000. It's assessed at $250,000. It's worth about $560,000. Okay, this is today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go to the next interesting person. Who is this? That's Warren Buffett. That's $82 billion net worth. Now this is Tim Cook. He's the CEO of Apple. A big baller. He's the CEO of Apple today. That little nondescript, not so interesting looking photo on the right to the right of his face. You say, well, that just looks like a little cabin or a little condo. It's a condo. It's like $1.5 million. That's where he lives. And I think he just got a stock option payout of like $300 million recently. And believe me, there's more coming where that came from. Now here's my best example. I just love this. Let me see. Jimmy's like, don't screw this up. Okay, whose home is that? Whose home is that? That's 5,000 square feet. Not 50,000 square feet. Not 80,000 square feet. That is not an $88 million house. That is not a $50 million house. That's not a $40 million house. That's not a $25 million house. That's not a $10 million house. It's not a $5 million house. It's about $2.8 million. That's Steve Jobs' home. That home is where he gave his last living breath in. That home is where he lived when he was the founder of could have bought anything, done anything, but he realized a home is a good initial investment, but it is not an appreciating asset overall, and a home is not a central investment. I'm sorry, let me phrase that. It is a great investment for you and me. Certainly, I want to encourage you to be a homeowner. But a home, once you get above, a couple $1 million, it's in part a vanity play. It's your ego. It's flossing. Hey, I got a $5 million house. It's like saying it's my Bentley. The minute you drive off the lot with your Bentley, it's worth 10 or 20% less. If you turn around and drove it right back on the lot, they'd buy it from you for 10 or 20% less than what you bought it from them for. So it's a vanity play, ego. There's nothing wrong with it. Like owning a restaurant. Unless you stay there all the time, you're going to be robbed blind. You don't make any money on restaurants. It's a vanity play. You don't make any money on a club. Well, there's some clubs make money, but those are people scantily clad. That's a whole other kind of club. But as a rule, these are not businesses you go into to make money as a central business. These are high energy, high ego investments, and Yeah, you want to be into a home that is worthwhile. But these guys realized that their greatest asset was their intellectual property rights, was their businesses, was what they were doing, not where they were living. You don't go buy $100 million home unless you can pay cash for it. It's a toy. I mean, be blunt. It's a toy. You don't finance a toy with a $54 million mortgage. I'm sure the folks at Goldman Sachs were dying with joy to do that deal. Can you imagine the fees on that deal? Okay. I know it seems like I'm being hard on Jay-Z, and I'm not, by the way. I love him. I want them to make smart business decisions. I need him to win. I need him to be very successful so he can donate money to Operation Hope and all the other charities they want. I want them to be great role models for themselves, for their children, and for the world. And I don't want them to accidentally go broke or have to sell something in a fire sale. I want them to go, if you're going to own this house, go pay off the mortgage or get the mortgage down to $5 million. I mean, a $54 million mortgage, I wouldn't even be able to sleep, okay? I don't even know how they get that on a piece of paper when they send you the invoice every month. I mean, $54 million is a lot of zeros, and that monthly payment is enough to give you a heart attack. This is Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre got a payout from Apple. He became a billionaire instantly when he sold Beats by Dre to Apple, and him and Jimmy Ivey, I believe is this guy's name, if I got that name right. And he took part of those proceeds, really smart, and paid cash, $40 million for the home of his dreams. And then he also bought a beach house. He might have had that before. And he bought it. It was bought a beach house from Tom Brady and Giselle for $40 million. And as best I can tell, he paid for it cash. If you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it. And so it's a toy, ladies and gentlemen. You don't buy $100 million asset unless it's producing income, okay? And I don't care how many tours you do of the Jay-Z house, it's not gonna pay the mortgage payment. So look, I want everybody to get the memo. It appears that Congress needs to get the memo, the U.S. Senate needs to get the memo. This tax bill they're talking about is borderline irresponsible because it rewards, frankly, people like me with assets. It rewards people who own stocks and bonds and investments and passive owners of capital, passive owners of assets. It rewards the investor, not the average person. We need to be getting the average person a real shot at the American dream. We should have, I'll do a whole video on this, but if they wanted to reward good behavior with this tax bill and encourage job creation and help the American dream, they should have given tax breaks to companies that do massive internships, and tax breaks to companies that do massive levels of apprenticeships, and tax breaks for companies that do worker retraining for relevant skills today. In other words, and if you say that a tax break will allow companies to pay their workers more, then while I'm not suggesting this because I think it's quasi-socialistic in its view, then tie the tax breaks to an income increase of the employer. In other words, give me a tax brace and make me as an employer raise an employee's income. I'm not saying do that. I'm saying if that is what you're suggesting, then walk your talk. Don't sell me pinky dust and say somehow a tax brace for the rich will somehow trickle down to the average Joe in getting more income. That has not been a fact. It's not been anything that's been proven. They removed the tax incentive, the last version of the bill I saw, for mortgage interest, which is a way, by the way, to politically penalize those who didn't vote for you. And some would argue California, New York, who have very high average values of homes, would get hit in the last version of this tax bill I saw. So if you have $1 million home or a $60,000 home or $70,000 home, you don't get tax deduction for that mortgage interest. By the way, this Jay-Z house and Beyonce house, most of that payment they're making is interest. They're not paying principal. So when you pay that $250,000 a month, I guess it's $230,000 of it is interest. Can you imagine that? Okay, so back to the story. So if you have a home that's over $500,000, under the tax bill version I saw, let's say change it, you don't get mortgage deduction for that. So now it makes your home less valuable. We're punishing people for the average Joe for owning a home and taking an incentive out of home ownership. And if you buy a home, you say $1 million is a lot of money. Not if you're in San Francisco, not if you're in the Bay Area, not if you're in LA. A shack in LA costs you $40,000. Jamie's nodding his head like, yeah, baby. And they've taken out the version I saw. You can't write off student loan payments. You get the write off for the natural disaster is being removed. No, you didn't plan a natural disaster. Why should you be penalized for that? You should at least be able to write off the cost, the expense, not reimbursed you by the federal government and from your insurance company for a natural disaster. There's also a penalty for certain types of people who make money. So if you're a doctor or a football player, or whatever, those folks get taxed at a different rate than what I call passive owners of assets. So if you own the assets, you get taxed at one rate. If you're making the money just because you're an earner, you get taxed at a heavier rate. We should be encouraging aspiration and folks sort of going up the ladder in this country, not discouraging, not penalizing people for that. And here's the worst and the most egregious one. Again, if they've changed in the bill, then I apologize and God bless them. I don't think they have. If you have a medical emergency, they've removed the benefit or the tax write-off benefit for a medical emergency. You don't pick getting sick. I mean, most bankruptcies in this country are because people get sick. They have to go to the hospital and can't afford the hospital care. So this tax bill is irrational, and it doesn't reward the middle class. It does not encourage people to come up the ladder. If we're going to reward the wealthy class, then let's just say it for what it is, but let's not call it a middle class tax break. I don't think there's anything wrong with helping investor class necessarily, if that is your political strategy, but say what it is. And also, if you're going to do this, then put in some things that actually help the average Joe watching and Jeanette watching this video. Fair exchange is no robbery, as my best friend Robert Grew would say. I want you to get the memo. It looks like some folks in Hollywood need to also read the book. And Jay-Z and Beyoncé, go back to your financial planner and have them explain one more time why you should have a $54 million mortgage from Goldman Sachs. I tell you what, start your own mortgage company and give yourself a mortgage and then write it off as a business expense. I'm out. Love you guys.